Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on the fourth day of the Navaratri e-lecture series organized by the Center for Educational and Social Studies, CES, Bangalore, in collaboration with ICFI Foundation for Higher Education. I am Medapa, working for CES, and it is my privilege to welcome all the participants and our distinguished speakers, Shri Anil Kumar Joshi and Srimati Suma T.S., to this webinar on the auspicious occasion of Navaratri. So we will now begin with the session with a short introduction of Shri Anil Kumar Joshi. He is an IT engineer, manager, and Vedic science researcher with more than 18 years of diverse professional experience. He holds a BE in Medical Electronics from MS Ramaiah Institute of Technology, an MSc from Vedic Science from MIT School of Vedic Sciences, and is currently pursuing his PhD in Vedic Science on the topic Improving Organizational Role Mapping, a Vedic Approach. His career spans complete IT lifecycle, including operations development, database administrations, system programming, and data modeling, to also AI, big data, sales, and business development. He has worked across multiple domains, including BFSI, CPRS, and other industries. He's also published and presented several papers on Vedic management, role mapping, and Indic perspectives on careers and bridging tradition and contemporary practice. Today, he will be talking to us on the topic of decoding the full stack human being to solve organizational challenges from a Bharatiya perspective. On behalf of CES and ICFI Foundation, I welcome him to the session. A small note to all our participants. The certificates of participation for this lecture series will be given only to those who attend on all 5 days. As well as if you have questions, please type in the question and answer box, and sir will take the question towards the 10 or 15 minutes end of his presentation. With this, I will now yield the floor to Shri Anil Kumar Joshi. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Meerapaji. Is my voice audible and I'm visible?
Yeah, it's audible, sir.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, let me start. Om Padavakya-pramanajñam madhvarantam taponidhim Govinda Panditam Vande Govinda Paratallajam Astu Tejasvinodhitam Astu Chak Brahmavarchasam Sampadayema hi sahaviryam krushimai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Great. So, yeah, full stack human being, right? So, for some of us who are from the software background, will be able to relate to this phrase, full stack. So, what exactly does it mean when someone says full stack, right? Right from designing to deploying a product, if an engineer is involved, it could be front-end aspects, middleware, back-end, all of that, the entire gamut, the entire life cycle, right? He is a full stack engineer. Now, what is a full stack human being? And why do we need to understand this full stack human being, right? That is the quest that I have, I wanted to understand, and some thoughts, some things that I wanted to present is what is going to be in this series, right? Now, in my years of experience in the IT industries, I have seen some use cases, some live examples that I wanted to share before I begin with proposing whatever I would want to propose, right? The first one, I say misaligned roles. For example, in the organization that I was working before, there was a global command center, right? So a global command center in an organization is a huge space. Of entire floor is dedicated to that department, and there are large screens and monitors that are placed in that floor. The team members that work in that department are continuously monitoring those screens to see if there is any outage in any of the regions that they respectively provide support for, right? So if there is any incident in those areas, then quickly they will have to look into their standard operating procedures and have to solve those problems, right? There is an SLA that is defined for a severity one incident. This is how, within this much time, you'll have to resolve the incident. For a severity two, for severity, so on and so forth. Now, the manager of that department, right, was a very, very friendly guy. Any festivals or any birthdays that were celebrated in that command center were very colorful, right? So each and every team member used to decorate their desks. There used to be hangama in the floors. Ganapati festival was live there on the floor, right? That was how it was. And the manager was very involved with the team, happy to talk to the team. Hey, man, come on, let's have some fun. Let's go for a coffee and all that stuff, right? He was doing a fantastic job as a global command center manager. Now, he was promoted to become the manager of a center of excellence team, right? In the center of excellence team, there were team members who did a lot of exploration, tool exploration, research and development kind of work, right? And for them, every day was the same. My birthday, Ganesha Chaturthi, some festival, it's all same, right? So when this person became the manager of that team, though initially he was somewhat, he tried to talk to people, do all that, but since the team was not that, they wanted their hands to be dirtied. It was that kind of a environment there, right? So over a period of time, the manager really experienced the friction. He could not face, he could not enjoy that job basically at the end of the day, right? Now vice versa situation. The manager of a center of an excellence team was promoted to become the manager of a global command center team, right? So rather than responding to severity incidents, right? They started, or the teams, he instructed the team that let us do some root cause analysis and all that stuff, right? So there is a subtle difference in how an individual is and how he is working, right? So gradually, both the managers did not, enjoy that job, and there were a lot of issues within the, within that organization and all that stuff, right? So that was one example that I wanted to highlight. The second example here is poor team composition. So what do I mean? In my own team, right? It was, just after COVID times that the management decided that we'll hire all, fresh engineering graduates in the team, right? And then we'll get the work done from them. So we hired fresh engineering graduates, and there were three set of tools on which they were trained: service virtualization, data, all those tools, right? So there were 12 of them, so half of their day they were getting trained on these tools, exploring the tools, understanding the tools, taking the trainings from the vendor partners, all that. And the other half of the day they were doing their normal business as usual work, right? So after the training was completed, everyone knew all the tools, right? They were okay with executing all those tools. Now, the question came that we had to demo these tools to the customers. And if the customer is okay, we will have to pitch those tools to the customers if they have a problem there in their environment, right? Now, when it comes to demoing the tool, it is not about sitting and learning. It's about what you have learned, you will have to express it to the customers. There will be a lot of questions that are being asked to you. You will have to navigate those questions and try to answer to them. There will be some questions which you would not know, which one would not know, right? So how do you handle those kind of questions? this became, very, very important. Some of the team members came and told me, no, I can't do this, right? Rather give me a job where I'll explore it, or give me, where I'll have to deploy this in an organization. I don't have to talk to the customer. There are set of procedures. I know how this tool needs to be deployed in an organization, in a client side. I'll go deploy it in a client side, right? I don't want to talk to the customers, right? This is one case. Now, like this, there used to be a great semiconductor company, which is, which is not doing very good right now, right? So during those times, in 2000s, right, there was a change in the leadership in that organization, right? Being a tech company, being a semiconductor-based company, I think it was for the first time that the CEO of the organization was someone other than a techie, right? So the vision of that company was lost. Rather than thinking of what needs to be done in the future, you know, how do I see things coming up? What are the technological innovations that are going to happen in the future, right? They started concentrating on medium term gains, financial, improvements and all that stuff, right? So that company had to face a lot of challenges. Like this, I have listed so many other things. One more example. Now, remote from working from home is a common, normal. It's a normal, though, employers are asking people to come to organize, come to offices and then work. Work from home doesn't work for everybody, right? If I have to talk to people, if I have to go for a coffee break, I want to talk to people, I want to be with people. Now, if they are continuously working from home, then they'll feel depressed. That digital fatigue will take over them, right? So, what I am trying to say here is, if we are able to understand an employee fully, right, it will be better for the manager, for the employee himself, to understand that, okay, this is what I can do best and this is not what I can do. The earlier we realize that, the earlier is the better, right? So I'll move forward. Now, agile methodology is one of the project management methodologies that is being employed across organizations right now, right? So one of the principles in agile management, the agile is in safe agile practices, is unlocking the intrinsic motivation of the knowledge worker, right? Now I have highlighted some pieces here, right? I'll just read out the last piece that I've highlighted. The term intrinsic motivation was coined by researchers who discovered that humans and other mammals would persist at tasks without an external reward. Further, it has been demonstrated that introducing an extrinsic reward to heuristic tasks ultimately degrades performance. While this insight might contradict traditional management thinking, it is fundamental to understanding that knowledge workers find motivation to find joy and satisfaction in their work, though they know that ultimately joy that one gets in doing the job is very, very important, but how that needs to be done, is not there yet, is what I could say. So does this mean that all the organizations out there are not doing it? No, they're doing it. There are many management development programs that are happening, you know, retaining and, engaging and retaining talent is one of the most popular management development programs that is out there, right? It's given to all managers and above on how to understand, how to, how to engage, how to make your employee engage, and how yourself you need to be engaged, right? Now, these are some of the statistics that is available, right, that I took it, right? What does it say? only about 21% of the employees worldwide are engaged at work. Right? Development Academy found that 64% of the employees would rather have a low paid job that they enjoy than a well paid job that they hated. Okay, so the paradigm that is running in the organizations right now is, thank God it's Friday. We have Monday morning blues. We have a separate team that is dedicated, who play songs on Monday mornings to welcome employees to the organizations. Right? If that is what it is, then no, why do one has to work? Right? Isn't it better for us to forget about others, right? For me to understand what gives me joy, in doing what kind of work gives me joy, right? And if I align myself to those kind of joy, to those kind of work, ultimately I'll be happy. Even the organization will be happy. The parameters of employee engagement, the productivity will all be automatically taken care of, or to some extent can be taken care of, right? So that is what is, we're going to see forward, right? The next screen, I'll just go forward. So with this thing in mind, I started this exploration. It was in the Vedic, School of Vedic Sciences that I enrolled for a PhD. Of course, I was already doing my MSc by that time, and I enrolled for this program. And to understand, who am I, right? What am I good? Why am I here? Right? That was the basic question. Forget about my employees, my family. That's the second question. Do I understand myself better, or is there a way that I can understand myself better? Right? That's when we started doing the literature survey. There were a lot of psychological models that I looked into, which provide on these aspects, right? So and here I would like to take a moment to to thank three people from the School of Vedic Sciences who really supported me, helped me, during my research studies. One is Dr. K. Shankaran. One more person is Dr. Sai Susarla ji, and another is Dr. Anupama ji. Right? So with their support, that gave me strength to continue the studies. Right? So I took that study to understand basically, who am I? Why am I here for? No, if when I ask this question, why again and again, right? Ultimately, it's about being happy. Am I happy at the end of the day? What is the question? That's the answer. That's what is the ultimate thing, right? So how do I formalize this talk? Now that we understood what is it and why did I take up this study, right? Again, I would like to present a Vedic framework here. It's called Anubandha Chatushtaya. I have deliberately used this stacked, picture. So in the Vedic system, everything is stacked. There is a multi-layered understanding of everything that we look into. It's all circular. It's all spiraling up. Right? So what is this framework? This framework answers four questions: what, why, who, and how. So for this current talk, we want to understand, what a full stack employees, attempt to understand what a full stack employees. Why? Why do you want to do that? Let everybody be happy. All the stakeholders that are being involved, in an organization, right? Be happy. Who is this useful for? Anyone dealing with human beings, employees, human beings, that is it useful for. And how the relationship amongst all of these things is what we are going to see. Okay, now um, while I was doing this, right, in the year 2018, there was one Shastric research methodology workshop that I had attended. There was a lot of information that was spoken about. And one thing that interested me was about Tantra Yuktis from the Shastric research methodology workshop, right? So using Tantra Yuktis and the meta models that I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes were the chief components of my research methodology chapter, right? So that's when, during the research advisory committee meetings, I said that, okay, based on Tantra Yuktis and based on first principles method, I'll structure my research methodology, and this is what I'm going to do, right? One of the faculties who was not, from the Vedic Sciences department said, this we will have to, use some Western research methodology concepts. How are we going to do this and all that stuff, right? So the first time I heard about a word called autoethnography, ethnography and autoethnography. So I went back, spent a lot of time understanding what is autoethnography, looked into the theses. Yeah, my guides helped me in doing that. Some of the very important theses, how they are, used autoethnography. And then when I came back and tried to understand, I found that there are so many concepts that is already there in our ancient Indian wisdom, in our Vedic corpus, that can also be used as a as autoethnographic methods. So that's when we wrote a paper on synthesizing autoethnography using ancient Indian wisdom. How can they both be synthesized, right? And it's not, synthesis, integration, not about eliminating what is there in the Western, but then taking that also into account. Synthesis at two levels. One, the Indic concepts with the Western, methodologies, and the synthesis among different texts in the Indic text itself, right? The two levels of synthesis is what I presented this paper. It was taken very well, right? And then next, okay, this was another paper that I had, also spoken about. This was a Jyotishya-based framework on understanding the full stack human being, right? In fact, I felt that there are many principles within Jyotishya that can, that can be very useful for us to, decode a human being, right? I'll give one example. If Chandra is in trines to Navamsha Lagna, right, the native will sing songs and he'll sing songs for the Dharma Devata. Wow. Like that, I put up a framework, I presented it there in, to understand, basically what am I, who am I? Can there be synthesis among Jyotishya and the other, meta models or other, philosophies, right? That was the basic idea. Okay. So what I understood, right, after this study, this exploration of oneself, swabhava and swadharma. Swabhava is who I am, right? It is my bhava. It is I am. Who am I? Right? Swadharma is the role that I have to do, which can give me joy. right? So if there is an alignment between who am I, right, with what I will do, my swadharma, then most of the issues can be solved. Again, the issues of engagement, the issues of employee, productivity, all of that can be taken care of. Now, now these are some of the shloka references that I've given across, across the texts. I'm not going to read each one of them. We know, one of the famous one is Shreyan Swadharmo Vigunaha Paradharmat Swanishthitat Swabhavaniyatam Karma Kurvan Napnoti Kilvisham Swabhava Prabhaver Punyam. Right? All of those are there in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says, it is better to do job which is according to your nature, right? Rather than doing something which is not according to your nature. All of that is there, right? So if there is this kind of an alignment, like the crisscross ATGC models, then one will really be happy. He can, Swadarshana is the word that we have, introduced. There's no word called Swadarshana. This is, in the Tranta Yuktis, we have mentioned Swadarshana as Swasanya, right? So this is that. Now then the question comes, how are we going to understand Swabhava? How am I going to understand what is my Swabhava? Right? So that is when the concept of the Vedic meta models comes into picture. Right? So what are these meta models that we are referring to here? These meta models, Triguna is a meta model. Panchakosha is a meta model. Chaturvarna is a meta model. Like that, we have a lot of meta models, right? These meta models, are they being referred to as meta models in any of these shastras? No, they are not referred to as. They have their basis in the realization of the rishis. Shabda Pramana. In Indic methodology, Shabda is given a lot of importance. Shabda Pramana is given a lot of importance. These are out there. The word meta is metaphorical, right? It's metaphorical to refer to something that works beyond, right? To hold the opposites together. To understand deeply interconnected things in reality, right, is where the meta models are going to be useful for us. Right? Now, each one of these meta models have a theory that is associated with them. For example, Triguna finds its basis from the Sankhya philosophy, right? So we have Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, Sankhya philosophy, and we all know that. The Panchakoshas from the Upanishads, from the Taittiriya Upanishad. And each one of these meta models give us ideal types, or the variables that they have to offer, right? For example, if we take trigunas, we have sattva, we have rajas, we have tamas. There can be a combination amongst them also. Sattva dominant, rajas dominant. So they provide us types that can be combined and can be used. And each one of these types can have a description for any dimension that is being taken into picture, right? So if we take action orientation, or if we take some dimension. So for sattva, what is it? For rajas, what is it? For tamas, what is it? Can be defined. Again, for the other combinations also, it can be defined, right? And one very, very important aspect of these meta models is, right, when we combine the meta models to arrive at some insights, right, then there is some kind of a pattern that emerges. Archetypes emerge from the combination of these meta models, right? Whereas in the contemporary methodologies, right? So if there is a data set, if there is a data set on which I have to do a logistic regression or some algorithm, what do? I take the data set. As a first step, I do data pre-processing, right? I know we'll have to feature engineer the data set. So we'll see which of those variables are interrelated, and then remove, eliminate, right? So that's not the case when it comes to the Vedic meta models. Emerging of the patterns, though the meta models are orthogonal, they are orthogonal. But then we will have to see from a distance. Go back, see from a distance, right? And then see that the patterns are emerging, right? So if we draw the matrix, if we draw a matrix, we are not I mean, there's nothing very sacrosanct about a single cell, right? Clusters of cells and the patterns that emerge out from the cells is what is important. That is one of the significant paradigmatic, view from the Vedic side, right? Again, can these meta models be tested? Yes, the meta models can be tested. There can be first order testing, there can be second order testing. However, on the ground testing, right? When I mean on the ground, when there is an actual interaction between group of people, an employee is interacting with his team members, having known what these meta models are, what is that they're going to offer, right? It gives us fantastic results rather than proving in the lab, right? So these are some of the points that I wanted to mention before I go ahead and introduce what these meta models are. Okay. So the first of the meta models, as I said, is Chaturvyuha, Chaturvarna, Chaturvyuha. I've taken the Chaturvyuha concepts from Sri Aurobindo's reference, right? So in this, there are four types, ideal types. One is Brahma Shakti or Maheshwari, which is inclined towards wisdom, guidance, knowledge seeker, right? The second one is Kshatra Shakti, Mahakali. One is inclined towards protection, lubrication, cohesion, and all that stuff. The third one is Vaishya Shakti or Mahalakshmi, right? Where love, harmony, cohesion becomes very, very important, right? The other one is Mahasaraswati, Shudra Shakti, where perfection, service, executionist, on the ground doing things becomes very, I mean, it is the innate tendency. Now, each one of these types is ingrained in oneself. For those who are knowledge seekers, right? They are not much interested. No, to some extent, they are interested in people, but not much interested. What they are interested in is pushing the envelope further. They are the visionaries who can, who have that foresight to look beyond. Today is the world of LLMs and all of those stuff, right? So what is it that is going to disrupt the market in the next year to come, 2 years to come, 3 years to come, right? That is the insight. That is what they. Kshatriya Shakti, yes, they are people-oriented guys. They want to protect their team. They want to take care of the employees. What about Vaishya Shakti? Yes, they are also interested in people, but efficiency becomes more important to them. They are the ones who can ensure that the resources that are required for a team to perform well, right, are brought together so that they don't face any issues, right? And for the Mahasaraswati type, the ideal types, executing things on the ground, service orientation becomes very, very important, right? Again, I have mentioned some of these shlokas on each one of them. Now, what is being given in most of these texts, right, are baseline, ideal baseline types. But when we go out there and look at the world, it's not like that. There's a lot of permutation and combination, right? That's one very, very important point that one needs to consider. Now, the next model, the next meta model is the Panchakosha model. This is, again, I have mentioned it as it's a stacked human being, right? So I'm not one, I'm a layered being. And what are those layers? Those layers are Annamaya Kosha. We all know Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. There is one aspect, one layer in me which is predominant in most cases. Okay? If Annamaya Kosha is predominant within me, right, then it's all about stability. Okay? When I say stability, it's like you just want to be in that state. Okay? So when one from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya Kosha, it's also about being stable, but it's also about being a little dominative. right? Survival comes into the picture, when the pranamaya kosha is predominant. What about manomaya kosha? In the manomaya kosha, from from me and my survival, it's about my team, right? My team, the larger team, my family. That becomes very, very important, right? And in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, it's about building stuff. It's about architecting, right? Intellectual things that gives me kick, if I may use that word, right? And then once in the Manomaya Kosha, it's all pure bliss, right? There is Hari and Hara in union. So in the organizational context, we are going up to Vijnanamaya Kosha. I mean, in this context, we are going up to Vijnanamaya Kosha. Okay, going forward. Now, the third meta model is about gunas, trigunas. Right? So we have sattva, we have rajas, and we have tamas. Sattva is principle oriented. Rajas is expansion oriented. Right? Tamas is stability oriented. This is the recontextualized definition. Again, the sources are all Shastras, right? So these are the three meta models. So when we talked about the first meta model, which is the Chaturvyuha meta model, that is an innate tendency that is there within a human, I mean, within a person, right? And the second meta model, it's like a tool, like a tactic, like an approach that I can use to approach a situation or solve a problem or interact with people, right? And the third meta model is about appropriateness of a situation. How do I respond to the situation? How do I, whether I'm responding, whether I'm, is that a response or a response, right? So when we cross-classify these meta models, we will be able to see that all the use cases that we saw in the first place can be understood, right? So we saw that a global command center manager was a people-oriented person. He was operating from one of the koshas, from the Manomaya kosha, right? And there were some standard operating, that they had to follow, and he also was ingrained to that swabhava, right? So when he was put as a manager of a center of an excellence team, right? There is a complete shift. From enjoying talking to people, you are now working amongst people, who say, I don't care whether it's Ganesh Chaturthi today or not. It's a normal day for me. I enjoy doing my stuff. But out there, the other aspects were important. Like that. For example, a program manager and a project manager. In the hierarchy, both are at the same level. A program manager is also at the same level, and a project manager is also at the same level. But for a program manager, there is a lot of functional reporting, right? So when I say functional reporting, I am not directly responsible for doing the appraisals for this employee. So if that is the case, I can't fall back to the hierarchical structure, right? I'll have to convince him. I'll have to say, Are Baba, this is how it is. We need to do this. So if that is the case, if the program manager has to be more convincing, more persuading, then we will have to look out for a person who is operating from one of those koshas where persuasion, belongingness is very, very important. But for a program manager, he can always show a stick. Convincing, persuading doesn't become important for him. It is. I mean, if it is there, it's okay. But if we switch jobs, right, it becomes a major problem. Right? Like that. All the roles, even academic roles, can be analyzed within this framework. Who is a CTO? What is the difference between a CTO of an organization and maybe a chief, a principal engineer of an organization? Usually, there'll be one person who will be doing that. That's how it is. But there is a nuanced understanding of being a CTO and just being a principal engineer, right? If you have to talk to people, if you have to say, this is the agenda and this is what we need to get things done, then the swabhava of that person completely changes, rather than for a person who says, okay, this is what is going to come next, you do whatever you want to do, right? So like that, there are so many different functions within. We have compliance, lot of data breaches that I have also personally seen happening in the organization, right? The compliance engineer or the compliance officer, sometimes for him relationships matters. Arey sir, I mean, this is what we need to do on that. So if that takes over and if it doesn't hold the compliance aspects, right, then there'll be some outages, there'll be some problems. So understanding full stack human being with these three meta models, this is my darshana, this is my swadarshana. That's the beauty of the Indic system, right? There's no one solution or one solution for a given problem. There can be multiple solutions to it. I feel that this is, by analyzing this way, right, most of the problems in organizations, right, ultimately what it is about, dealing with people, right? More than anybody else, it is about understanding my own self. If I can understand my own self better and then say, if there is a scope for me to tell, no, I mean, boss, I mean, this is not what it is, and this is what I'm best. Wow, that's a fantastic environment. That's very, very good. Right? If we see, you know, there's a Fortune 500 list of the companies, right? In the last 50 years, maybe around 49, 50 of the companies are able to make it still in that Fortune 500 list, right? It's maybe about 10%, approximately about 10%. And what is one reason the others could not make it? Or what are the reasons? Two major reasons that are there are this lack of innovation and leadership failures. You are not able to change. There is resistance. There is complacency. Right? For a technological organization, if the leader of the organization doesn't foresee what is it that's going to come in the future and take steps right now, right? Then that company will not be existent. Forget about being in the top 500 list, Fortune 500 list, right? So yeah, so this is what I wanted to present. So understanding oneself, understanding myself better, and aligning myself to those kind of roles will create a very joyful experience for all people that are involved in the organization, right? Multiple stakeholders are involved, right? So yeah, so I think that's it. Sir, thank you so much. If there are any questions, we can take them.
Yes, we have a question from Mr. Ravi Bhushan, and he wants to know what is the use case of Thomas in the process of research. What is the use of Thomas in the process of research?
Thomas in the process of research. I know maybe some more inputs are required. Okay, let me. Thomas says all about, for example, in my own team, right? There is we were developing a tool, and there is a set of people in my own team who says, Anil, rather than just having the prompts given to the users, why can't we develop the prompt repository and they can choose from that? Let's go with this. Let us go. Let's do that. They are always trying to look beyond things, right? Always trying to innovate. But there is another set of people who says, no, that's not going to work. Let us stay here. Let us maintain that stability, right? For an organization, for a given client, ensuring that business as usual activities are stably taken care of is very, very important. And that is what is about Tamas. Ensuring stability is taken care of. And we need employees with that bhava, that swabhava, who can take care of it. Basically, doing the same things over and over and over again and not getting bored or getting joy out of it, right? That is the aspect of Tamas.
Thank you, sir. There's another question. Is there any difference between self-realization and self-actualization? The difference between self-realization and self-actualization.
I don't know whether I'll be able to answer this question or not. Ultimately, it's about understanding the self. That's what I know. you know, uh, these words are sometimes very actualization, realization, right? Do I know myself better? It could be actualizing, it could be realization. I don't know, right? That's it. Swabhava. Let us go with the word swabhava. Do I understand myself better?
Uh, Another question, sir. Can you tell us a little more about the word meta?
Meta model. Yes. The word meta, it's like training the trainer, right? Meta model is that one will be able to understand the modeling aspects of the model, not a superficial understanding, but then seeing things above, seeing things beyond. What is it that they offer? Right? This is the word that we have used in the research. Usually models also can work, but meta models is specifically what we have used.
Another question says, can Chaturvyuha be implemented for organizational development? Chaturvyuha for organizational development.
Yes, why not? It can be. As long as it is taken in the right sense, right? It is one's innate tendency, which is ingrained in one person. And to understand that is very, very important. So it can be implemented.
So the last question that we have is, what is moksha and how this value orientation can be connected to organizational culture? How can moksha be connected to organizational culture?
Good question. Now, if I go back to my organization, and then say, ultimately moksha is what we are seeking for. They say, "Oh, what are you talking about, man?" Right? So moksha, okay, in the organizational context, let's say tatkala moksha, right? The joy that one gets in doing his job, tatkala moksha, right? That ananda is what it is. That's what I can say.
Okay, thank you, sir. I think we've reached the end of the Q&A session. On behalf of SES and ICFI, I take this opportunity to thank Shri Anil Kumar Joshi, sir, for his wonderful exposition on a topic that concerns all of us employees in the workforce. Uh, Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.